Hello, Get Rock Solid Agents. I am Dan Rochon with Keller Realty, the Greetings Virginia Real Estate Sales Network. And today I'm really excited that Mr. Haro Setian is joining us from Greenville, South Carolina. Welcome, Haro.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Cool.
It's been actually just got back from a 5-week vacation.
5-week vacation. All right. Well, I want to hear about that in a second. Let me tell people who you are. So Haro is a very successful real estate agent in the South Carolina area, and you have just an incredible team, and you sell about 400 homes a year. You've done that for the last 3 years, and I know that you have ambitions to increase that. And that's a little bit about who you are.
Yeah.
All right. And so one last thing, I had a friend of mine the other day was asking, he's like, hey, Dan, why are you interviewing these people? And the reason why we're interviewing people that such as Haro is because we want to be able to provide to the agent community lessons learned and a model for success for you to succeed in real estate sales business, and to do so from the very best talent across the country. Now, if you're interested, you want to get show notes from previous interviews that we've done from people like Adam Hergenrother, people like Jennifer Young, people like Tara Smith. I mean, just incredibly talented people. Eric Quadros here locally in Virginia. Email me, dan@greetingsvirginia.com, and just put into the subject line show notes, and we'll email you all those show notes. So Haro, welcome back from vacation.
Thanks, man.
5 weeks, huh?
5 weeks. It was great.
Where'd you go?
We were in Armenia for 3.5 weeks, and then we spent 2 weeks in France.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Armenia and France. Where in France?
So 1 week in Paris and 1 week in Lyon. It was at the same time as the Women's World Cup. So we got to catch the last 4 games of the U.S. women's national team as they won the World Cup and kicked butt all over France.
That's awesome, man.
It was.
So something that I want to pull out, something that I recognized while you were traveling, preparing for this interview, I emailed you, and I got the very best response that I think I've ever seen in my life. Can you tell us what that response that I received was?
It was basically, look, I'm on my way on I called it a sabbatical because I had just been in the business for 10 years and had never really taken a long vacation. We take 2-week vacations every year, but anything longer than that. And I needed to get away, man, and just be with my family and do something memorable. And so the response was, I'm away on sabbatical. Any email that comes to this inbox will be deleted and I won't see it. So if you need something, here, email Kayla or April, or if you need me specifically, just email me after July 8th. And then I came back to an empty inbox. It was great.
Man. That's worth the time already. Thank you for sharing that.
It was great. Michael Hyatt is a blogger I follow, and it's something he wrote about years ago, and I was just like, I've used it now 3 or 4 times. Okay. So it's just been fantastic. I don't have any emails to deal with when I get back. I just get back and getting back in the saddle, and in fact, it's kind of nice because I usually have more in my inbox before I leave. And then when I get back, of course, all the ones that came in are gone. And then all the other ones, I'm like, you know what? They lived a month and a half without me in this case. I'll just archive all those and just start fresh from zero. So it was great.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And you had a couple of resources there to take care of business so that you weren't leaving your client slot. And, you created and you designed a opportunity to take 5 weeks to spend with your family.
Yes, it was awesome. Yeah, we have a great crew here, and obviously I couldn't do that unless I had full confidence that anything that needed to be handled would be handled.
Got it. So Haro, tell us a little bit about your journey. So you got licensed 10 years ago, thereabouts?
May of 2009 is when I started. My sales career started in college. I was I think it helps a little bit to talk about that. I was a freshman at a school not far from where I'm sitting right now, and overheard a young lady talking to a guy from my hall about a summer internship where she had made $14,000. And I just had one question: is it legal? And come to find out, she worked this sales internship for this publishing company where you would sell educational books door to door during the summertime. And, it sounded crazy, but they had a system and they had a model and scripts you could follow. And they said, if you'll just follow our model and our system, the average student that does that makes $8,000 in the summer. And I said, well, I'm better than average, so I should do better than 8,000. Sure enough, I did. I made 10 grand that first summer. And, kind of got addicted to sales and making money by commission. Long story short, after I graduated from college, I moved to Chicago for a year. I worked in the finance industry up there. I actually got fired from my first job up
Congratulations.
there. Thank you. I've actually been fired or kicked out of like 5 different things in my adult life. So it turns out I'm really unemployable. So after Chicago, I went back to that company, and from 2002 to 2008, I was a sales manager and recruiter. So I would recruit college students from 4 campuses in South Carolina. I would train them, then I would go out with them during the summer. I would sell, they would sell, and obviously I made commission on my sales and made commission on how well the organization did, kind of like we do now.
Sure. So
that was great background. And then 2008, I stepped away from that business. It was time for a change. And in 2009, I took a little bit of time off and looked at several different fields. And in 2009, I had already looked at residential real estate as a potential option. My dad had sold real estate in Worcester, Massachusetts back when I was a kid. He didn't do super well, but he had done it, so I was exposed. I remember watching Tony Robbins in his training room on a VHS on the TV while he flipped through the MLS book with his clients.
That is old school.
Old school. And then my father-in-law also actually had a very successful real estate career in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I'd already bought some of my first investment properties, so I was already kind of attracted to the potential for having access to more real investment properties because of real estate. So when a friend of mine from college messaged me one day and said, hey, our team has more leads than it can handle. Do you know anyone wanting to go into real estate? I said, I've been thinking about it. Let's talk. Now, mind you, this is like April 2009. What's the market doing right now?
At the bottom.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that. I knew the stock market wasn't doing good. I knew we were in kind of a recession, but I didn't realize how bad it was in real estate. And I said, yeah, I'll take you up on that. And I jumped in, and those first 12 months from May of 2009 to May of 2010, I sold 33 homes as a buyer agent on a team, and everyone was blown away. And I just kind of thought, this is kind of easy, frankly, because when I got on, you got to understand, when I got on the team, well, my previous career was, go knock on a door. They come to the door. Do they know me? No. Have they heard of my company? No. Have they ever heard of our products? No. And then all of a sudden there's this Middle Eastern looking guy standing on their front doorstep wanting to get in, So it was, and then I got on the team and they were like, okay, this is the money phone. When this rings, this is someone calling on one of our listings. I was like, what? They call us? That's fantastic. And then he said, when it buzzes, that's a lead on our website. And you go on there and you can call. I was like, they put their number in and their email, and I can call, like they're getting in touch with us. That's fantastic. So, then it was just a matter of lead follow-up, and that went really well. So that was the beginning. So
how long did you stay on the team for?
So I was on the team for 14 months.
And 30, you said 30, how many homes?
33 in the first 12 months,
33?
and then I can't remember exactly.
A few more after that.
Yeah, a few more after that.
Okay.
And I was never someone who wanted to start my own team. That just seemed like an energy expenditure that would be unnecessary if I could be on a team where I could hit my goals within that structure.
So what caused you to do that?
So actually I walked into a meeting that I thought was going to be the meeting where I was signing an agreement to become the sales manager for the company. And when I walked in that meeting, and it was the meeting where I was told that we were no longer a fit. And so I was no longer part of the team.
Okay.
And now I was a solo agent, not really knowing anything about how to take a listing or any of the back end. And had to kind of learn that stuff and go. And that fall was really tough because every lead I was working with was from the team, so the team still got paid, but I didn't have the new lead flow, so I didn't have new leads. So I actually closed very, very little business, and it was a struggle. Thanksgiving, I remember this Thanksgiving of 2010. I looked at our finances, and because of some debt I had brought in to my real estate career with me, basically, long story short, we're in $50,000 of consumer debt, so credit cards, student loans, etc. And I just looked at my wife and I said, by God's grace, by God's help, whatever I got to do, I'm going to get us out of this. If I have to work 90, 100 hours a week, I'm going to get us out of this. So the next 12 months, from January, or basically all of 2011, I just busted my butt. We sold 36 homes and got out of debt, paid all that down. By that time, we had 2 little girls, and late 2011, I went to a national Keller Williams event where my eyes were opened to what people around the country were doing. And the top teams in our area at that time were selling about 250 homes a year. And I saw people my age selling 600, 700, 800 homes a year. And I just said, wow.
Were you solo at that time? Did you have an assistant, anything?
I had a part-time assistant.
Okay.
And I just was blown away by what other people were able to do. And I said, well, let's try that. Why don't we do that? So, 2012, I went to my first major Keller Williams convention. My eyes were opened even more, and I started hearing about classes about how to hire. And I knew I needed to hire because my business was already growing. I was already beginning to have more business than I could handle. And that was 2000. So beginning of 2012, I hired my first full-time assistant.
Okay.
And then mid-year that year, I hired 2 buyer's agents. I wouldn't do that again.
Why not?
First thing I would have done is I would have hired my first assistant. Was not the person that could build a department. Okay. I didn't realize how important that would be until way later, and it frankly hurt our company a lot that we didn't have the right talent in that position. And then the second hire is always supposed to be not a salesperson, but another administrative person.
Yeah.
And it's not my hire; it's their hire. Yeah. And so I didn't do that. And it's actually caused a lot of pain in our organization that we still feel. Things that weren't in place because I'm a sales guy. I know how to grow sales. So we grew sales on, frankly, a shoddy infrastructure, which eventually we eventually went from, selling 50 homes a year in 2012 to 478 in 2017.
That was the most you've sold? 478?
478 in 2017 is the most we've sold. But, that train was running really fast on a loose track. And so we've restructured a lot of things the last 2 years and are much better shape now, but it's not as many units. And we're addressing some of the things we never addressed in our fast growth season of, we went from 50 houses to 124 to 185 to 258, 412, 478. And then last year we sold 360. We'll do about 360 again this year.
Okay.
Interestingly, our price per unit has gone up tremendously, so our volume is much better. But yeah, that's
and you took 5 weeks off.
And I took 5 weeks off, and
completely off.
Completely off.
Yeah.
Yeah. No contact. Didn't take my cell phone. Didn't look I was locked out of email, Facebook. None of that.
That's cool. So what have you learned? What if you were to share with me? And I know that you have many lessons that you've learned along the way.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you? Share with me something that you've learned on your journey.
There's so many. One big picture one was, I don't know that I was right or wrong, but now that I look back, I can identify the values that I held as a young agent, and I valued my first 10 years in this business. I really valued growth and recognition.
Okay.
And so grow at all costs, not paying attention to profit. It wasn't, we weren't unprofitable, but it never was like a focus point. And then recognition, of course, that growth led to lots of recognition, which is great. I mean, that led to a lot of opportunity. So I think the thing that I've learned is that at different points in your career, in your life, your values change. And I think that's happened for me over the last 2 years, in that I value my time and freedom and profitability now way more than I did then. And I think, I haven't really thought through this, but it might have been, there may have been some value to being more introspective about what I was after those years, because there's probably some things I would have done differently. Had I been more focused on profitability, we probably wouldn't have grown as fast, but I probably would have retained much more of our growth that we did have. So that, that's been one really interesting conversation or thought process for me as I reflect.
Or besides focusing on the profitability, and I get that, or if you want to expand on that, that's great. But you said if I would have had different values, or if I would have been more introspective, I would have maybe done things differently. What specifically would you have done differently? Well,
frankly, if you're following the model that is in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the MREA book, that is a really good model. The one thing I mentioned is I didn't hire capacity, talent, someone that could lead the operations side. So I wouldn't have moved on from that hire. Like, I would have hired and fired as many times as I needed to until I had that right key first person in place that I could grow with. So I would have done that differently. Secondly, I wasn't listing focused. I didn't really understand how powerful and how important listings were. So we got really off balance. That year we sold 478 homes. 75% of those were buyers.
Wow.
Which leads to a lot of people on your team to service all those buyers.
How many agents did you have around that time?
12 or 13.
Okay. And what about your staff in addition to the agents?
Another 15, 16.
Got it. Okay.
Between ISAs and administrative staff, and then leadership / management.
Sure. Inside sales agents. Okay. Got it.
Yep. So we never really became what I would consider a listing strong business, where we were known. I would rather have 75% listings close and 25% buyers. If it's going to be 75-25, I'd rather it be the other way.
Sure.
But so those are two things I would have done differently. And then the other thing is, and Gary's told us this many times, I'm in his private mastermind, and
Gary Keller,
sometimes we try to force the growth of our business, and really the business should grow because you have more business than you can handle, not because you go out and buy leads. That the growth of the business should come organically. And I was forcing the business to grow rather than letting it come. And that's a much stronger business when you let it come.
Got it. So you would have been more organic. You would have focused more on your profit. You would have focused more on your organizational talent.
And more on listings.
Yeah, and more on listings, and gotten capacity talent instead of cul-de-sac talent.
Correct.
Okay, got it. How do you define success?
I'm going to tell you something that's I think it's a shifting definition. I used to be able to give a really good one-word answer to stuff like that, and I think as you grow and throughout your life, the answer changes over time. So, was the last 10 years for me successful? I would say that it was. So getting our family on good financial footing was really important, and we're there. Something could happen to me today, and my family's taken care of. And we've got enough passive income coming in that even if this business shut down, we're good. So that was successful. Yet moving forward, the biggest thing to me is time. And my kids are at an age now where, not that it wasn't so when they were smaller, but a couple of years ago, every year I take a personal retreat and just think about the following year and what's important to me the following year. And I even look out further than that. And So I was doing kind of a 10-year, where do I want to be, 2027, 2028. And one thing that, as I marinated and was just sitting there and reflecting, as I thought about my relationship with my wife and my relationship with my kids, the words decade of presence came to mind. And I just wrote down decade of presence. So the next 10 years for me, success has a lot to do with how present and intentional I am with my wife and my children, not to the neglect of my business, because these are important people too. But coming from someone who was poor and just didn't have a lot of stability growing up, like my early years of being married and being a dad, like that was my major drive. Is for me, success was, I'm going to give my wife and my kids the stability that my mom and we didn't have. But now we've got that. So it's shifted for me. And now it's like, okay, the other thing that I didn't have and my wife didn't have is a present spouse and a present dad. And so now that's for me. So I feel like I talked a lot on that point, but I think at different seasons and stages in life, I think things change.
I love that. You gave me chills when you talked about a decade of presence. So tell me, you mentioned passive income in there. And I know when we were talking earlier today, you mentioned about, various passive income. Tell us more about that if you could.
Yeah. So, with Keller Williams, we have something called profit share. And I've been able to grow that. And that's been about, it's turned into about a $2,000 a month income stream. I'm also an owner in a couple of market centers, an investor in a couple of market centers. And that also creates cash. And then the biggest chunk is rental properties. We've got 10 properties, and it has just been, I bought my first one in 2004. Okay. And so it's just been, and I've been acquiring more lately. So I think I've added 3 or 4 in the last 2 years.
What's your strategy around that?
It could be tighter. It's not as tight as I'd like it. It's not as tight as I'd like it to be. But frankly, when there's deals that happen in our real estate business, and my team knows that I'm looking, so now it's just a matter of when something comes up, I'm just letting people know, and I'm going to start letting people in our market center know, hey, I'm ready to deploy capital. If you've got something, throw it my way. So that's, the last few years, it's just been that. I had a little spurt in 2013 where I bought several properties, and man, those things have just grown and returned like crazy. They're in good locations, so some of them have doubled in value, and they're cash flowing, and it's just been fantastic.
That's fantastic. So tell me about your team today. What's your organization look like today?
So there's 5 of us in management. I don't know if you ever read the book Rocket Fuel or seen it. There's a sister book called Traction. We really follow that system that's in Traction. So I'm considered a visionary. That's if you read the description of visionary, that is me. Then we have an integrator who, another way to think about this person is a general manager or a managing director, and she is her name's Keller. And then she's got 4 people that answer to her that run different departments. So outside sales and marketing is run by Catherine, and then we have an inside sales lead, and then a care team lead, and then we have a finance lead. So care team is what you would think about as operations inside of real estate, but these are client-facing operations. So transaction coordinator, listing manager, that's that department. Then kind of back of the house, non-client, is the finance department, and that's just really one person, and she's got a few outsourced vendors that answer to her that handle, bookkeeping, payroll, that kind of stuff. So that's, and then we've got 5 ISAs. We have currently we have 3 buyers agents and 1 showing agent, so it's kind of like 4 buyers agents. We're in the process of hiring several more, and we've got 2 listing specialists, and then front desk, runner, 2 transaction coordinators, a marketing assistant, photographer / stager. I think I got everybody.
Do you go on appointments?
No.
When was the last appointment you went on?
I've taken like 3 listings in the last 5 years. No, wow. In the last 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad. I kind of miss it sometimes.
Yeah.
But then
So
I'm
how
like,
do you spend your day?
well, for 2 years it was launched in the market center.
Yeah.
Now it's talent attraction, and then it's when I left the business to launch the market center. When I came back to the business, it was clear that a reconstruction was necessary. So the last year and a half, 2 years was that.
Okay.
And I feel like we just had a record quarter, that we had the highest profits in Q2 that we've had since kind of the market center was launched and the whole reconstruction happened. So we really feel like we're back on decent footing. And so now it's funny you asked that. It's something that I'm thinking about, like what will my days look like moving forward now that kind of we've rebuilt the infrastructure, and things are ready to start growing again.
Yeah, so you've got the stability, you have the foundation, and you have the time. That's what I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
So is
cool.
it growth? Is it investments? We'll see.
So if I'm a real estate agent, I'm watching this right now, and I was interested in opportunity with you and your organization. Tell me a little bit about that, if you could.
I mean, we're really looking for people who are aligned with our mission. And our mission is to kind of reintegrate what shouldn't be separate. Most people see their faith and their work as two separate things, and unfortunately, that's not the way. Frankly, it's not the way it's supposed to be. So we're really looking for people who are passionate about that mission, that would love to just work out their faith in how they work every day. So we read scripture with each other, we pray with each other, and we really just think about what does it look like to live everything I hear on Sunday and live it out in my business. So our vision is that by 2028, we'll be a top 5 expansion team in Keller Williams. In order to be in the top 5 based on last 5 years trends, and extrapolating those out for the next 10 years, we would need to do $100 million in revenue in 2028. Comparison, we'll do about $2.5 million this year. So we need to grow 50 times in the next 9 years now. It used to be a 10-year goal. Now it's a 9-year goal. So what we found is that there's a 4-hour radius around Greenville, South Carolina, that includes metros like Raleigh-Durham, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Charlotte, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Atlanta, Birmingham, Knoxville, Tri-Cities, Chattanooga, Asheville, Columbia, South Carolina. In that circle, there's 26 million people in the MSAs represented. So that's not even including all the countryside between the MSAs. So we feel like we can do 100 million right there in driving distance from Greenville, and that's what we're looking for, is leaders, people who want to grow into the leaders to help build that out.
So if I was interested, how do I get in touch with you?
So our website is theharogroup.com, and there's a careers link there, and you can go to that, and that'll take you to our careers page. And or you can email me, which is Haro, Haro, at theharogroup.com.
Haro, thanks so much, man. I want to do this again if you're willing, because I would love to spend the next 4 hours talking to you. I just love learning from you and everything that you're sharing. And for those that are watching this, again, if you're interested in show notes from some of the past interviews that we've done, you can email me, dan@greetingsvirginia.com, and just put show notes in the subject line, and we'll get that off to you. Haro, thank you so much, and I wish you much success, and let me know how I can help you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Take care.
See ya.